Hello, this is Mike McNally, Commercial Director for GT Maritime. I'm here to talk with you about cybersecurity. Oh no, another warning about cybersecurity in the maritime. Blah, blah, blah. We've heard it over and over. It starts to become white noise. Every conference I go to has got an update on the Maersk situation. Every time it's more and more money that has been lost. I think the last I heard was $600 million of loss. But we all know that that was not directed at the maritime industry. In fact, the simplicity of it is terrible, is that the software patches were not made on software in the company's office, and that's the reason, even though the software patches were available for weeks before. So not keeping software up to date was the real cause of this major problem, not a maritime cyber attack. The other lesson we learned, though, is that this virus was able to spread across the global network, which otherwise was a very secure network that Maersk was running. So we've learned that a standard VPN or a corporate VPN can transmit malware very effectively. So what do we need to pay attention to out of all of this hype? There are three areas that I believe that should be focused on. The first is software, where most of us are focusing. Obviously, GT Maritime is a software company. We provide cyber secure software. So, we'll talk a bit about that. But also electronic frequency attacks and physical threats. And the coordination of these different types of attacks can be the threat that is launched against your vessels. Coming back to software updates, this is the number one thing that needs to be done to secure a vessel's network. And doing that is a simple commitment to keep all the vessel's software up to date, but it can be something that is difficult to enact. And in fact, it's the kind of thing that could really use an automation system to make it work easily. And we'll talk more about that later. Email is the biggest threat. Here we are, GT Mail Plus, the biggest independent provider of maritime email, and it's the biggest threat. And that's why we take it so seriously. GT Mail Plus protects our customers from known viruses, but also unknown malware, spam, phishing, all the different types of attacks that can come in on software. Our protection of email is built into the cloud-based delivery system, and of course, it's updated continually, so our software is always up to date. In the last 6 months, we've processed over 65 million emails. And out of those, over 100,000 known viruses were found and eliminated. The disturbing part is that we then found another 130,500 malware attacks that were not known to standard AV solutions. We were catching 2 out of every 1,000 messages that otherwise would have gotten through if we weren't doing advanced threat protection. Now, 2 out of every 1,000, the average amount of email sent and received by our ships is 2,000. So that means that 4 malware attacks would get through on average to every ship. We've stopped over 300,000 spam messages and a countless number of phishing attacks that had occurred, all with our protection software. Electronic frequency attacks sound far-fetched, but they really aren't. They can be as simple as a GPS jamming, which can be achieved by a very low technology operation. They can jam the GPS on board the vessel. Spoofing the GPS is a bit more advanced, but it has happened. AIS spoofing is even more common, where a bad actor can place a navigational aid out of its position. It can create a target ship that's a phantom, and that can cause a collision alarm to go off on the vessel and cause the vessel to make a detour or perhaps a dangerous maneuver. I saw an example of computers that were used to monitor equipment having a simple green laser, $12 from Amazon. That green laser shining on that computer caused all of the metrics of those monitors to go wild. The pressures, RPMs, temperatures just went wild. it's an example that high frequencies, different frequencies can have impact on electronic equipment. Also damage to microwave is an issue. When I was first selling VSAT systems, we had the case where as a ship was transiting through the Bosphorus Straits, we had 2 in a row where VSATs were being blown up, basically. And what we found out was that the Navy was playing around with fire control radars, and guess what they were targeting? Those nice big domes on the ships. So we know very well that high frequency microwave can damage the communication systems on the ship. In coordination with an attack, that could be make the ship even more vulnerable. Are your suppliers secure? This is a big question, of course. I was the managing director of Telemar USA at one time, and all of our service engineers would go on board ships with their laptop in hand. No one ever questioned them about the laptop. No one ever checked their security. We, of course, were running antivirus software on all those laptops. We believed that we were providing a safe environment to bring on board the ship. But we just talked about how viruses cannot be caught by, not all viruses can be caught by antivirus signature software, which is the common way to do it these days, certainly back then. So how secure are your suppliers interfacing with your systems? That's a question that really needs to be asked, and your suppliers need to live up to that question. I was at a conference recently where they talked about the Port of San Diego and how they had an attack. Of course, I was concerned, could that have been an email attack? And it wasn't. So there's also the concern of people visiting your office and what they do when they're there. Really monitoring the physical security of all your operations is critical, because it was so easy for somebody to come in and slip a virus in, which put the Port of San Diego out of business for a week. And actually recovery took many, many months. Don't forget to also consider third-party websites. We've just renewed our website, and in doing so, renewed the security on that site. And in discussing this with the developers, we found that it was possible that without that security, hackers can get on a site and plant viruses that can attach themselves to the visitors to that site. So even if you're visiting what seems to be the site of a valid supplier, if that supplier is not securing his website properly, it could introduce viruses to your own systems. As the range of threats evolve, you need to ensure that cybersecurity vigilance is reinforced and response plans are adaptable to new threats. The processes and procedures need to be rehearsed like fire drills, responding as a reflex if the worst thing should happen. A great example that was given to me was the airbag. The airbag has saved countless lives. But if the user of the airbag had to do something to make it go off, they wouldn't be effective at all. If you had to press a button when you saw you were going to crash, how many airbags would save any lives? It's the reflex. It's having a system respond immediately without a lot of thinking or planning afterwards. And that's what needs to be done. So all of these threats need to be identified. We certainly cannot protect ourselves from all these threats, the electronic attacks and so forth. There's no way to harden the ship completely. This isn't a Navy vessel. But what you can do is identify the systems which can be vulnerable and make sure you have an immediate plan that people know how to follow when that happens. Hopefully it never happens. Education of the staff is key. One of the things we're doing right now is offering a free phishing penetration test to our customers so that they can test the resilience of their crew to the phishing that could get through. Even though we've enhanced our anti-phishing software significantly, phishing is something that can always find a way through. It's very clever software. It can look innocuous, and when it gets in there and it gets the attention of the captain has to be able to recognize that it is phishing and report it properly. The future. Well, we continue to develop. We continue to develop our systems to meet the new challenges that come up. The threat profile that is growing, as much as it sounds like hype, it certainly is growing. The number one deterrent to software-based attacks is keeping your versions of software up to date. GT Deploy is a product which we're under development right now. It's in the final stages of beta. and it will help to keep those updates automated and make it possible for a small IT team to stay on top of this very important element of your protection. The product roadmap of GT is full of tools to help customers stay ahead of the growing cybersecurity risks. If you'd like to find out more about GT Deploy or our roadmap of other products, please let us know, and we'll be happy to talk to you and give you an introduction to it. Thanks for your attention. As a sobering thought, in the 10 minutes that we've been watching this presentation, on average, GT Maritime would have intercepted 12 malicious code attacks. 7 of those would not have been caught by traditional AV signature software. Are your ships safe? We hope this presentation has been useful to you. We really do not want to add to the blah, blah, blah out there. Make it a great day.